The conclusion of Chang experiment in 2016 about effect of autonomy showed that children's manipulating autonomy can cause progress in the level of autonomy as well as incentives and self-confidence on decision making and before and after interference period, which takes about 6 weeks. Children will rate the quality of 3 topics, which are physical education, teacher and self-determined. Results of this study that I have mentioned demonstrate that being a good leader by coach have a direct relation to program that helps you to be a successful easier. Setting philosophy and using various types of attitude by coach can have influence on children so that it increases the relation between coach and children as well as children's participants. Impact of coaching philosophies on adolescents in sports. At 1990, Seifeld and Ewing assessed that children ask their motives for more participation, which this means children liked to have interaction with each other and work as a team. The reason that increased children's incentives were their anxiousness of achieve more skills and improve their abilities, as well as having some fun and entertainment activities which they were interesting. And also the other things that children liked were believing in themselves alongside group or team and the interesting challenge that provided for them and they had to face with them, through which they could try different ways in order to win, and it was more fun for them. While unfortunately there were some reasons like tolerate too much pressure on themselves and too weak to gain success, as well as being away from doing interesting things and also getting tired of work. In this slide, you can see a table made by Ewing and Seifeld on 1989, which shows percentage of players who are not able to continue playing for next year. However, they still play in this year. The conclusion of Chang experiment in 2016 about effect of autonomy showed that children's manipulating autonomy can cause progress in the level of autonomy as well as incentives and self-confidence on decision making and before and after interference period, which takes about 6 weeks. Children will rate the quality of 3 topics, which are physical education, teacher and self-determined. Results of this study that I have mentioned demonstrate that being a good leader by coach have a direct relation to program that helps you to be a successful easier. Setting philosophy and using various types of attitude by coach can have influence on children so that it increases the relation between coach and children as well as children's participants. Ewing and Seifeld states that coach must afford to getting practices and exercises near to funniest place as well as entertaining place, which can cause increasing motivation on children. Coach must increase their level of understanding and perceptions and be more friend with children. Instead of struggling with personal life or school, they have to focus more on developing children's skills, which altogether coach can have positive impact on participants' performance, which shows their role is so important. Athletes are struggling and weak to taking the advantage of the key points, so that this problem might be painful for them. Being successful in sports have brought some problem for athletes, such as being away from family at young age, which this problem may have some negative impacts on children, and such as problem with family, education, and social problems. The above points will have narrow improvement opportunities for children, which cause that athletes face negative effects such as having unsafe training. These problems can cause having health care and receiving more care by coaches. Coaches must try to get their philosophy around things that players are into them, which according to this, Gibson in 2007 have brought some of those philosophy features which are session must be challenging alongside training, make the session more competitive among players, making the main goals clear and progress in children's improvement must be highlighted. Coaches must arrange their exercises to show and teach children how to play as a team to athletes. Coaches must work on individuals and groups exercises with the same passion and serious. For having progress in long term, coach should have some feedback of performances which this help them in terms of improvement. So according to above bullet points, coaching philosophy must meet the player's interests and values. In this part, I'm going to talk about the coaching philosophies of disabilities. At the first slide, we can see the impairment versus disabilities, which these two have different definition. For example, impairment means that when a person is not completely healthy, so that he or she may have problem in one of his member of body, like blind people which they cannot see. Disabilities mean some people in comparison with the majority of population have some limits which they are not able to do some particular work because of bad environmental condition. With looking at this slide, we can understand that conclusion of study on Paralympic have shown that there are some activities as well as regulations that athletes must apply for them, which are doing activities which introduce the next exercises, so that those tasks should be coherent alongside relate to each other. Set the goals that must be achieved by athletes. Always communicate with each other and work as a team. They do these things to show how the importance of individuals' tasks can improve performance in whole team. In this part, we will see the approaches of coaching disabilities. Tim Frick, Canadian basketball coach with gold medals in 2005, cited that I want to see disabilities children at elementary are joining in sports activities like basketball. I want to see coaches in school teach those kids and normal people which are able to play any sports alongside each other and also give some additional exercises to them as well. In the running tasks, it should be combination of drills for disabilities and also they have to be rewarded and encouraged to doing those tasks in correct way and always give positive feedback as well as energy to those children. Coaches must do their job in every single moment in each position equally, which means they must avoid thinking of the abilities of athletes while some may have less or more skills. Coach's first concern must be about tasks because they have to provide drills to help every single player to improve themselves in the training session. In the last slide, as you can see, it's talk about sports policy